Hey there, comic book fans. I am back from the comic shop again today. Got 6 comics. Got 5 on the pull list and 1 I pulled off the shelf just for good measure. But first, let me show you the comic I bought only for its cover that's been out on top of my printer. And that is an issue of Popeye. Let me see if I can get this one out of the bag just because I like the matte texture of this cover. Looks like it's got a little mark up there. A little fold of some kind. Don't know where that came from. When did this come out? 2012 I bought this. That's weird. Doesn't even look like it was actually ever folded, but it looks like it's got a fold mark right there. But anyway, I bought this cover way back then, and I was like, I knew it was an homage to something, and I couldn't remember what. And I was like, I know that's a painting of some kind. And I asked a couple of friends, and they didn't know. But then I finally found it. I looked it up. It's was this George Bellows painting. George Bellows, Dempsey and Firpo, 1924. So... And I've seen it homaged before. But there's kind of, we got the ref. We got him knocking the guy out of the ring. It's not a direct sort of swipe, but it's along the same lines. But I actually, printed this out and put it in the bag with the comic just so I'd remember. So I wouldn't have to go, what was that based on again? So it slips in the back of the bag. Whoops, slips in the back of the bag, I'd say, as it refuses to go in. So I got the comic on one side and the painting it comes from on the other. All right, let's see what I got this week. Well, let's start with the one I picked up off the shelf that had many, many covers. But I went with this one, Dynamite. I don't buy many Dynamites, Red Sonja. This is a Marvel Zombies in the Dynamite universe thing. Who's it by? Declan Shalvey, Fred Van Lente are the writers. Vincenzo Caruto and Justin Mason are the artists. Kike J. Diaz is the colorist. That's Kike. Okay. Who's it? Hassan Atsami Iluhau is the letterer. There's the creative team for you. But I saw this in one of the comic shop newses, and I flipped through it and said, I'll give the first issue a try. I don't have a ton of stuff this week, especially since 2 of the comics I got were True Believers, so they were cheap. The art looked all right. I'll give 1 issue a try. And speaking of True Believers, I think this is Amazing Spider-Man 86, right? Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 86. Funny, I just this morning read the True Believers from last week, which was the first appearance of the Black Widow by Don Heck, and Don Heck drew. And matter of fact, who wrote that? That was very strange. I didn't even recognize the writer's name. Where did I put that? I thought these were done by Larry Lieber or something, but maybe he was using a pen name. It's plot by Stan Lee, story by N. Korok, Korok. I'm like, whose pen name is that? Who did the script? But I hadn't read the. I think I read the first issue like when I was a kid, and I never read this second issue. And the second issue was really dull. I loved the Don Heck artwork, but just I kind of ended up flipping the pages of the second story, the second appearance of the Black Widow, because that script was not the greatest. But anyway, I don't know if I've ever read this one. I think this is where she first gets this costume. I've read maybe a third of the Amazing Spider-Man issues under 100, I would guess. Well, probably more than a third since I've read all the Ditko stuff. But maybe a third of the John Romita stuff under, or half of the John Romita stuff under issue 100. I can't even remember. So that'll be interesting. Then we got Amazing Adventures, The Inhumans and the Black Widow. And this is, where's the original cover? So this is issue 1 and 2. So in the split books, they're giving us issue 1 and 2 of the Black. You know, they're not putting the Inhuman stuff in here. They're putting the Black Widow stuff in here. Gary Friedrich, John Buscema, and John Verpoorten. So this will be fun to read. I really do like these dollar True Believers. They're a lot of fun. Oh, the Champions. That was a pretty mediocre series back in that. Matter of fact, the Champions is kind of the definition of mediocre 1970s Marvel to me. It was when I was a kid, still is now. And next we've got Usagi Yojimbo. Issue 13. This is The Return, part 3 of 4. He's returning to his old hometown for the first time since he left it to become a wandering samurai, a ronin. And some other samurai who want to get revenge in the name of his lord are threatening his hometown. Their revenge, which Usagi wants too, because he wants to get revenge for his dead lord on the guy who killed him, who defeated him in battle and cheated him. But he doesn't want to sacrifice his hometown to get it. So that's been that story. That's been pretty good stuff, as Usagi always is. Then we've got Once and Future, issue number 12. I was disappointed with this the last couple of issues, because the main problem I have is it's a grandmother and her grandson are monster hunters, hunting, and there haven't been monsters in years, so the son knew nothing about it. The grandson knew nothing about it. But now King Arthur has come back, and all these monsters have too. Here's Grendel's mother from the Beowulf poem. And last issue, they had to kill Beowulf. But it's like, Beowulf should have just slaughtered him. Beowulf's this giant monster. And they're just like, I don't even know. The fight scenes are so nothing that the fight scenes are like the giant monster standing there and the person in danger and the giant monster not killing him. When it's a character who doesn't have plot immunity, the giant monster just tears them apart. But our two characters who have plot immunity, the giant monster misses all the time. And it's just kind of like, oh, come on. So I've been disappointed in the fight scenes with this. I assume I'm going to be disappointed with the fights. Matter of fact, she in the last issue, she killed Beowulf by cutting off his arm with a chainsaw. And Beowulf just kind of, Grendel, not Beowulf. Beowulf was the hero in the story. He died the issue before, when he should have killed them too. I don't understand how these giant, super strong, super fast monsters aren't killing this old lady and her grandson. But he basically just stood there as she sawed through his arm with a chainsaw. It was like, what? What kind of monster is this? So I'm a little disappointed in the fight scenes in Once and Future, but other than that, I enjoy them. And the final comic for the week is our slice of life horror series, Red Mother, where this woman who lost her eye is being haunted by these monsters and this Red Mother, and the people around her have something to do with it. And looks like we got some actual horror going on here. But most of it is her doing this. Most of it is slice of life stuff, which I like. I love slice of life comics. And then something horrible happens, like once or twice an issue. So if you're a horror fan, you might might not love it so much, but I do, because I'm a slice of life fan. I could just watch her going through her life, doing her job with her trials and tribulations. I don't need. The monsters are fun. The whatever is haunting her is fun, but I like the slice of life stuff too. So as I said, this one might not be for everyone, but it's for me, so I'm reading it. Now let me show you a little artwork. I did another big ink drawing. This time, this strange portrait of this. Matter of fact, it started out as I don't have my small ink drawing with me. I would show it to you, but started out as one of my smaller 6x9 ink drawings, and I blew it up into this one. And this one I did mostly with, there's some brush in it. You can actually see the difference in gloss of the two different inks. Like you can see, like in these big areas that were filled in with ink, the gloss is different than the other areas, which were Copic marker ink. And I used a lot of Copic marker ink on this one. I've been using more brush and India ink recently, but for this one I really wanted to get the patterns going in a line pattern. But still all these big jawline is all brush ink, and all this black is filled in with India ink. So you can, like I said, you can see the gloss is different on the two inks, which I think is kind of cool. But next I think I'm going to do one that has a lot more little parts on it. I think I've done enough big faces for a while. Now I want a lot of little parts. But of course, when I make the little parts, I'll be going sitting there working on all these little areas going, oh, what did I do to myself? But anyway, there's some art for you. There's some comics. And you guys have a good week out there.